guys, it's Mindy, and welcome to the Something New show where we like to learn how to live a life worth celebrating. And today I have a special guest all the way here from Austin, Texas, and you won't believe her story. I cannot wait to dive into it, but this is Kaelin Poulin, and thanks for being here, girl.
Oh my gosh, Mindy, I'm so excited for this.
Yes.
We all this morning, even getting coffee together, we have already been a ruckus all this morning, so I cannot wait for this podcast.
I know, it's going to be on fire. So before we get started, though, I have to tell you who this amazing person is that I'm so inspired by, because all she has accomplished at such a short time on earth, I'm like, wow, you have done so much. So just so you guys know, this is the official Ladyboss, if you want to look her up online. And she created a women's health company from nothing to $200 million in over 8 years. She was in the Inc. 5000 as number 4 on the whole chart for the fastest growing company. And the only people above her, correct me here if I'm wrong, were B2B companies. And you were the top B2C customer company. And she has over 1 million followers, and she has billions of views on her content because it is so intentional. Your content is amazing. And she's now advising 7- and 8-figure founder-led companies and helping their businesses grow. So thank you so much for sharing your knowledge with us today, because, man, and I'm not going to share your age because women aren't supposed to.
I'm 33.
Okay.
I'm proud
I was
of
like,
it.
well, here's the deal. She and her husband have done this in such a short time. I'm like, how old were you when you started your business?
Well, when Brandon and I first met, I didn't know he was 19, but he was 19 and I was 23.
Okay.
But I thought he was older than me because he's so smart. And we started that company when I was like 25.
Wow. Yeah. And you just sold it, right?
Yeah, last summer.
Oh my gosh. How does that feel to already grow a $200 million company and then be like, all right, I'm ready for my next challenge.
Yeah.
How does that feel?
I mean, it was like there's two sides of it, right? It was like really sad because it's almost like having a child like leave the house, like be an empty nester, right? We spent all of our 20s, like all of our youth that normally people are like figuring out what I want to do in life and who I am and all of that, like building this business. So it is who we are. Like, people don't even know my real name. They just know me as Ladyboss. Like, when people see me at the airport, they're just like, oh my gosh, it's Ladyboss, right? And they don't even know my first name. And someone would be like, oh yeah, it's Kaelin. But it was so much my identity. So I had a hard time in that transition of being like, well, who am I without being Ladyboss, right? Like, who does that make me now? And so it was a very hard transition on that side. And just the fact, too, that I love our customers. I love what we did. I love our mission. I lost 65 pounds, 9 years ago now, 8-9 years ago now. And all I wanted to do, after losing that 65 pounds, I went and set a world record for the fastest IFBB Pro card, which if you think about people that compete on stages that are like all muscular, like bodybuilding, right? And so I went and set a world record for the fastest pro card that had ever been earned after losing 65 pounds. And after I set that world record, I was like, I don't even want to do fitness anymore. I just want to help the woman that was just like me go get off the couch. And that's how it started. So I loved our mission so much. It was hard for me to kind of let go of those things and that mission, but God had just been calling us to a new season for a while. And I just knew that there was, something else that we were going to do and a new venture. And so it was hard on that side, but also it felt great to just be like, wow, we built this amazing thing. It's been so fun. We had 700,000 customers.
Okay, I don't know if people heard that, but she just said 700,000 customers.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
And so it was hard, like kind of that identity shift for me. It's like all of a sudden when, you're a mom, maybe for you, like you've been a mom for the last 18 years, all of a sudden your kids are out of the house and you're like, what do I do now? Yeah, what do I do now? And so it was kind of the same thing. And
yet you were only 32?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And you're like, I just spent my whole entire adult life building something, and I'm 32 and now selling my multi-million-dollar company, and you get to dream again.
Yeah, and it's almost like I got a chance to reinvent myself and be like, well, who am I outside of like who I am health-wise, and working out and eating healthy and like leading these women on a weight loss journey. Like, who am I outside of this Ladyboss, identity that I had been in and been the face of that company for a decade.
Okay, so let's just go back just a little bit, because I want to hear how you at 20 whatever decided, I think I'm going to start a company. Like, what was that journey to entrepreneurship for you?
So at 21. I think I was 21. I don't know. I'm really bad with what
You're
year
fine.
I did
You're
what.
fine.
But I think it was like 2021. I got started a network marketing company, and all I wanted to do was help pay down college loan debt, right? Because the school I went to was like 45 grand a year. I had a lot of academic scholarship, and the guy that I was dating at the time got introduced to this network marketing company, and I started drinking that shake. And I was just a customer and just drank the shake for breakfast and for lunch on the way to my next class. And I just really loved it. I was starting to feel better. I was someone that never worked out ever. I thought a McDonald's like McChicken sandwich was healthy. Like, oh, I got the McChicken. Like, that's healthy, right? Like, I thought the quesadilla at Taco Bell was like making the healthy choice. And that's where I was on that spectrum. And so after like started drinking the shake, I started feeling better. I was like, oh, I think I'm going to go work out. And I was terrified to go to the gym. Like, had no idea, never
Yeah, what do you
worked
do
out.
in there? Yeah.
Right. I mean, besides like playing on a basketball team, we go in and like pretend to lift weights for 20 minutes before practice. Like, that was really my only exposure. And so I start, losing weight. I start feeling better. I start doing more. And I'm like, wow, like this is really good. And so I became a promoter for that company. And I was like, I just want to make an extra couple $100 a month just sharing my testimony so far so that I can maybe just put some money towards this accumulation of debt that I'm, that's piling on, and started to do that. And that's how I met Brandon. Through that network marketing company is how we met.
Whoa.
Yeah. And which is a totally crazy other story. But when we met, he was in Denver at the time, and I was in Southern Indiana. And he had this like crush on me, and I was on stage all the time, and he had this crush, and he was like, that's my wife. And all of his buddies were like, that ain't your wife, that's her fiance up there with her. Like, that's not your wife. Like, they're engaged to be married. Yeah, they're engaged to be married. And so this guy ends up messing up, like runs off with a girl on Instagram. And at this time I had like 24,000 followers, runs off with this chick from Instagram, tells me he's at an event. Then she posts a picture of them kissing online. And because I already had a following, people started tagging me.
And sending it to you?
Sending it to me in DMs. No. And that's how I found out. Yeah. So truth be told, I ended up going single on Facebook. Brandon calls me and is like, hey, you don't even know who I am, but my name's Brandon Poulin. I'm like, who's calling me from Albuquerque, New Mexico? Like, I don't even know where that is at this point.
Right.
So I answered, and he's like, hey, it's Brandon Poulin. You probably don't remember me, but like, what happened? And he was the first person to ask me what happened. At that time, I was squatting in mine and my ex-fiance's old apartment. We were living in a house together, and I had left, like, threw the ring out and been like, I'm done, whatever, like, I don't care. And so literally go and I'm squatting in our little apartment. I have a blow-up mattress and a skillet, and all I can afford is egg whites because I had built that entire network marketing company under his social security number because we were getting married, and that's like you build one position instead of two. And so I lost everything. Like, when I walked away from that relationship, I lost everything. I had $200 in my bank account, and that was it. Yeah. And so when Brandon called me and was like, what happened? I was like, I don't even care. I'm gonna build it back bigger and better. And he was like, who is this girl? Like, most girls would be like eating bonbons and like being all crying upset. And she's like, I'm gonna go. I drove it. I built it. I'm gonna go do it again. I don't care. I don't need him. And
you're like that country song.
Oh yeah, exactly.
Sorry. Okay, keep going.
And so we just start FaceTiming every night, like personal development, and we're just like talking and we're just jiving. We're like, wow, like this person's on my level. Like, when you meet someone, you're like, they're on my level. Like, we could hang. Like they could hang with me.
Yes.
And we start FaceTiming every night. And I had just read The 5 Love Languages. You read that book, right?
Yeah.
And so I read it. I'm like, dude, you got to read this book. Like, not even for relationships, but how your team, like, needs to feel appreciated and loved. And, like, it really helps. In network marketing, it's like, it's a volunteer army. You know what I mean? So you have to, like, be able to show appreciation and be able to know, like, what your team needs from you. And he expedites the book, reads it in a day, and it's like, so which one are you? And I'm like, I'm a gifter. So he finds out, I guess, from my sister online that my favorite thing in the world is sugar cookies. The next day, a UPS guy shows up at the door. No one even knows I'm in this apartment, really, but him, because no one even knows where I am. I'm kind of off the face of the earth at this point. And this guy shows up with this bouquet of sugar cookies, and the card says, you always tell me you always tell me I know what to say, but it's your language I wish to speak. See you soon, Brandon. And I packed my whole car, And I drove to Denver to be there for like, I'm going to go for 7 days, just get out of town. I'd never seen mountains before. And I'll just go out there and we'll work and we'll do calls together and I'll meet this guy. So I drive all the way there, roll up in the driveway. It's like 1 a.m. I send the text that's like, I'm here, you know? He comes out, he's in his skinny jeans, his high tops, no shirt, snap back on backwards. And I'm like, tattoos, you know, he's got like a whole like chest, full arm sleeve, you know? And, comes out in the driveway, I get out of the car, he picks me up, kisses me in the driveway, and it's like, it was gonna happen sooner or later, might as well have happened sooner. And I was closed. Like in that moment, I was like, yep, like it's this guy. And 10 months later, he proposed with no ring. Just after we worked out, got back and was like, God told me I better wife you up before somebody else does. And no ring, no anything. He's like, I'll make it up later.
Yeah. For those of you watching on YouTube, let's just hold that up to the camera. Woo!
Yeah.
He did make that up later.
Yeah, and so then we got married on the beach in Puerto Rico. We still like didn't have any money. Got married on the beach in Puerto Rico like 11 months after that. And between that engagement and that wedding is when we launched what became Ladyboss, because we were just like, hey, I think together we have something special. And we are drivers, and I think we could do this outside of the box. And so Brandon was like, if you could go serve one customer, who would it be? And I said, I'd just help the woman that was just like me get off the couch. And he was like, well, how would you do it? And so we got these whiteboards out, and I literally wrote every single thing that I would have needed in one place. Like if I would have had meal plans that updated every week, if I would have had the workouts with a tutorial video to where I could go hide in the bathroom and see how to work the machine, like that would have been amazing. If I had like, here's a different program to do on cardio, instead of just walking on the treadmill, put it on this incline for this long, and then put on this incline for this long, and give me like a way to change things up because I didn't know anything, you know? If I would have had a motivational video. And so I literally wrote out on these giant whiteboards that we bought from Lowe's that are like, the big, huge things that you put under laminate flooring because we couldn't afford real whiteboards because they're expensive. Whiteboards are so expensive. So we bought these, $40 huge things that we wrote out on. And that's when we were walking on the treadmill at a gym and we were like, are we really going to do this thing? And we're like, yeah, we're going to do it. And we just mapped it all out and then launched that product. We were pulling all-nighters for like 2 months, launched that product like the first week of January that year.
And you started with like a very little capital to start doing paid ads? Or, how did you start?
No, well, I'd organically through my weight loss story, like through my weight loss journey, I was always posting with really no call to action at all. It was just like progress pictures or like, here's me at the gym. Here's my cardio workout I did today. Here's the shoulder workout I did today. So I just been like, what you call like jab, 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 right hook, right? Like all of the jabs were just literally me putting out organic content with no call to action for years. Like at this point, like
Which
3 years.
People probably actually loved your page because of it.
Oh yeah, for sure. And then, we launched that program and I'll never forget our first customer was Yolanda. $23, and me and Brandon freaked out. We were jumping up and down in our living room like, this is gonna work, because if we can get one, we can get more. And I feel like that first customer, Yolanda, was like more special than like the first million or the 10 million or the 40 million. It was like that moment we were like, man, like we could do this together, and that's how it started being built.
Wow. So I just want to reiterate to people that you have no business degree.
No.
That you and Brandon are literally school of hard knocks. You just figured it out and corrected over 8 years, and then grew it to the $200 million company that it is today. Yeah. And then, you started with probably one team member, and where did you end up? What was
150 employees.
150 employees.
Yeah. So I did go to college. I went to college. I went for marketing and communication, and then there was a business school that's super hard to get into that most MBA schools map their MBA school off of Hanover's business school that's only for undergrad. And so I did do that, but I feel like literally I learned everything by the School of Hard Knocks. Everything that I learned at school was 5-10 years out of date. There was no social media, there was no e-com, there was no learning an online business. It was traditional. It's okay, here's your balance sheet, and here's your P&L, and here's this, and here's that. And it's nothing that actually gave me the know-how of how to go actually open and create a business. It was more here's how to run someone else's business. Maybe, but like 10 years out of date. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So, for the social media, I mean, we've been talking about paid ads and marketing and all that stuff. Would you say that's like your ninja piece to your business, is that you just have this like total brilliant brain? And I know you probably wouldn't say that about yourself, but you have a brilliant brain when it comes to marketing. Would you say that's kind of like I mean, I know Brandon has a lot of intelligence on the systematic side of it, but is that really kind of what pushed this product into a more successful phase than maybe other companies?
I think more than just the content. I think I know my customer better than anyone else does. I think my secret sauce is attracting the perfect customer. That's what I think my secret sauce is. And that's what made the content so great. That's why it has billions of views. That's why I have such big volumes, because I know the customer better than anyone else does. Most people that are an expert at something or have a business, they come at people from the expert level, right? So you were once a level 1 and you learned how to get to level 10 of having this beautiful place, right? But most people, they can't relate to you. They don't see how to get there. And so for me, like in attracting the perfect customer, I'm always saying like, how do I tell the story from level 1? How do I start them at my journey of level 1 of here's me in your shoes, that I was exactly you 8 years ago. Like if I can do this, yes, we were different ages, but that doesn't matter. I can show you a million women. When I was trying to lose weight, I just Googled online like best weight loss testimonies. These women were older than me. They had 4 kids, like they had 2 jobs, and they lost the 100 pounds they wanted to lose. So like, what's stopping me? Because I don't have any of that, and I'm younger, and I have 65 pounds to lose. Like, why can't that be me? Why can't I do that? You know, like I can. I absolutely can. And so it's really like talking to your customer from that level 1 and saying like, whoever knows their customer best wins. Like I absolutely believe that's the magic equation. But most people don't know the actual words that their customers say, the actual problems and pains that they say that they're in, and the actual dreams that they want to have. You have a perception of what they are, of, oh, they just want to lose weight. But no, they'll tell you, I want to lose the weight because I've never been able to go on a bike ride with my kids, right? So I'll make my content around like, if you want to lose weight because you want to go ride your bike with your kid, then they're like, oh my gosh, she knows me. She understands me, right?
I hear so much right now that could be applied to any kind of business. And I think that a lot of times people make that mistake of putting out whatever marketing content they think their customer would enjoy, or they think, oh, this would push the product that we're selling. But what I hear you saying is actually reverse engineering it and saying like, let's get in their head. Let's get really in their head and find out who are these people so that we can actually make a video that would be like grab my heart, grab my heart.
It's like literally going back to how was I feeling when I was on the other side of this phone, not making the content, but watching people. Like, how was I feeling scrolling through Instagram, like seeing people that were fit and I wanted to lose weight? How did that make me feel? What were the things I was thinking? Why was the reason I couldn't get off the couch? Why was the reason that I hated looking at myself in the mirror? What was the reason behind wearing baggy clothes every day for years? Like, getting into that emotional state and saying like, okay, I can bring them from my story of being there into how I got to level 10, like how I got to the world record, how I got to the losing the 65 pounds, how I got to the mental state I'm in now, and like the self-confidence that I have now when I had none before. Here's the journey of how that happened. And so really like walking people from step 1 to step 10 and being like, this is where they're at, and you have to meet them where they're at now. Not talk to them like you're the expert and you know everything, because they can't relate to that.
Yeah. Okay, so I have a couple questions.
Yeah.
One is, where can people watch those amazing billion view content videos? Where can they see some of these examples? Where can they see it?
I would say the easiest place to find them all is just my Facebook page, which is still Ladyboss Kaelin. It's Kaelin, but you just go look those up and go to videos, and there's like recipe videos.
I just want people to see some of the content that you're making to just get that visual of like, oh, that's what she's doing. Okay. And then the next thing is, I know you do a lot of speaking and you talk to a lot of probably female entrepreneurs and things like that. What are some of the things that you tell them? Hey, here's some steps or some mistakes that I made, or here's some tips. Give me some of the stuff that you say on stages all throughout the country all year round. Like, what would you tell people?
I would think, first thing, just on the topic of like knowing your customer, how to do that. We implemented a survey for like every new customer that would come in. So like when somebody walks in your door right now, like, what's the pain that they're having? What's the dream? And so I'd pose it in a question. I would ask it on social media. It would be a survey every time a customer signed up. And I'd say, what's your number one struggle right now when it comes to losing weight, right? Or when it comes to whatever your industry is. Like when it comes to finding a dress, like what's the number one struggle right now? Oh, like I feel like no one carries my size, right? Could be one that you hear. And you're like, well, if you could find that perfect dress, like what would like the dream look like? And then I have like number one, their pain, but number two, their dream of what they're coming to me for. Like, this is what I want from you. And we take every input, every comment off those social media posts, every survey entry, and I have a running document called my pain and dream bank. And so all of my...
Hold on, my pain and dream bank.
Yeah.
Okay.
So in the left column, it's all the pains. They're exact words. Like, no other place I can find carries my size. So they're coming to you almost like, I feel like I've been turned away from places because I didn't have what I needed to be able to feel confident the way I want to on my day. Like, there wasn't enough, choices for me. For my size, right? That could be their
this
pain.
can go with so many products. Like
every product.
People are coming to you, and there's a reason why.
Yeah.
Whether you're selling like chiropractic and you're saying my back hurts.
So imagine this. So imagine you have on the left side, every person that comes in here, you know what their pain is. And in that pain and dream bank, you have every pain, right? Then you also have their matching dream that they wanted right next to it, okay? And you have this whole list. In mine, it's a living and breathing document. It's always being added to for every different product that we offer. So say like prom is different than wedding, right? Or but for prom, it's like everywhere else, like I feel like people end up with the same dress. Like I want something different, right? That might be their pain.
Yeah.
And then you have their dream of like, this is my one time that I'm going to splurge on something like this, and I want it to be perfect. I want to be the perfect dress or whatever the dream is. And so now when you go to make content and put it out, guess where I start? I literally go to the pain and dream bank and I say, what's the pain I'm going to hit? And what's the dream I'm going to address? And that becomes my content. So my pain,
brilliant.
and people say all the time, like, what do I talk about to make content? I'm like, literally just talk about what your customers talk about.
Yeah.
Talk about what your customer's struggling with and how you overcame it. So I'll go to that list, and the pain might be like, I'm just not motivated. I can't get off the couch. And the dream might be, I used to love hiking, but I haven't hiked in 10 years because my knees can't handle it. So I'd make a piece of content that's literally like, if you right now are struggling to get up off the couch and you just can't get motivated to do it, like, here's what I did to get up off the couch. All I would do is be like, put your shoes on. Kaelin, get your shoes on. Because if I get my shoes on and get my shoes laced up, that was the first step. Now I got my tennis shoes on. I got to do something. I got to just move my body, right?
Yeah.
And then it turned into the dream of like, now I can go on hikes. I can go do things that I couldn't do before because I just started walking around the block. And so now I've created a whole piece of content around a specific person. That's actually many people that have that problem and that pain in a specific avenue of using their exact words and not guessing at what they want to hear from me, using their exact words to create content for.
Love it.
So I'd say like,
couldn't get more targeted than that.
Right.
Okay. That's your big thing that you really walk people through. I mean, I've seen some of the stuff you walk people through. It's pretty
complex.
It's complex. I mean, there's so many steps to creating that perfect ad. There's so many steps to making that customer journey exactly like you said, 1 to 10.
Yep.
And all along the way. Okay. Do you have any kind of embarrassing stories or, man, I made the hugest mistake when, because let me just do a quick shout out. You have a new podcast. Okay. Tell us about that.
So the podcast is called Big Business Mistakes. And so we literally, we've listened to a million podcasts, just like I'm sure you have. And everyone listening has listened to other podcasts as well. And I feel like in business, everyone's always talking about like, here's everything we did right. And here's everything that's so awesome. And that's so great to hear like how people got there. But for us, we literally flipped it on its head and was like, what if we just talked about all the mistakes that were made in business that we have made, bring guests on to share their mistakes? Because then I feel like people learn better from mistakes. It's like, oh, like I made that mistake, I'm not going to make it again. But what if we could shortcut people of like, here's how you protect yourself from these mistakes. Here's how you don't make these mistakes. Here's how like what we learned. So then like we get to shortcut you so you don't have to run into the same thing while you're scaling.
Which
right?
I love. I heard a quote when I was growing up. It says, life's too short to learn your own lessons.
Yes.
And I was like, oh, okay. So that's when I started to really kind of crave knowledge and say, tell me more about your lessons. Tell me what you've learned from all your screw ups so that I don't make those same screw ups.
Yeah.
So could you share a screw up or a mistake with us?
Oh my gosh, there's so many. Let's see. Okay. So
I mean, and I have to tell people, you are also a mom. You have
Yeah.
2 little kids. You're doing this with 2 little kids too.
yeah,
Okay,
a 4-year-old and a 1.5-year-old right now, or a 1.8-year-old, I guess.
I love that 1.8. Okay, so yeah, go ahead.
So I would say on the topic of content, because I feel like, you know, for this audience, maybe starting with something simple like getting yourself out there in your message and creating content and starting right and putting yourself out in the world and your message out in the world. I really feel like in the beginning I became too attached to like the comments, right? So what I mean by that is when I had a smaller following, like 20,000, every time I'd post, people would be like, oh my gosh, this is so awesome. You're looking so great. This is so cool. And as I began to get a bigger following along the way, like all of a sudden the haters show up, right? And when it's just the people that are the cheerleaders, it's like you almost get too high on the highs. You
Like,
know?
you feel
And
good about yourself.
Yeah,
You're
you're
like,
like,
I'm
I'm
doing it.
so awesome. I am so cool. Like everyone loves when I post. Can't wait to make the next post because you get all these dopamine hits, right?
Yeah.
And so you're like, oh, I'm so cool. I'm like, this is so great and so awesome. But then as you grow a following, like it starts to get to the outer rims, you know? And I would have people on there being like, oh, your eyelashes look so stupid. I hate the sound of your voice. You are so annoying. You're way too over the top, like blah, blah, all this stuff, right? And so then because I was so used to being so high on the highs, I became so low on the lows. And even though it would be in the beginning one person that would say a mean comment, it's like that one comment and there's 25 other great
comments, but you just
that are like,
hear.
this helped me so much. You changed my life. I couldn't see it. All I could see is like the person that was dragging me. And so then I would be too low on the lows and it started to affect me making the next piece of content. It started to affect me like, oh, maybe now, when before I was like, I can't wait to post the next thing. It was like, I don't really want to post again because what are they going to say this time? Or I have to make sure that I look perfect so people won't make fun of my eyelashes or make fun of my hair being frizzy, or like I have to perfect myself to show up. And then I started doing that, and then people just complain about something else. You know what I mean? Like, you're too loud, or like, why are you in my feed? And so I realized they're always going to be there. You know what I mean? And so why am I trying to change who I am and like bring myself into like a box that like other people accept, when I'm like, I'm just going to be me and attract who is me. And this is part of attracting the perfect customer, is like, I want the women who are the ones like you that are like, we talked about this earlier, where people are like, we walk in a room and we're too much for people sometimes, right? Like we are over the top, or like people don't see us like, cause we're blondes and we're like, people don't understand how smart we are. They like kind of put us off and talk to our husbands, you know? They're like, oh, he's the guy, you know?
He's the smart one, or whatever.
Yeah, he's the smart one, whatever. And so I realized, like, even if I try to perfect everything, I'm lessening who I am to appease people, and then the hate is still there. So
you're like, so either way, you're not winning.
Either way. So why don't I just be myself and do it? And so I stopped reading the comments. Like, I literally became the person that was like, I had a team that would moderate the comments, and I would post content, and I would never look at the comments, because then I wasn't attached to the result. And so then it didn't affect me making the next video, doing the next recipe.
That's really good advice.
Putting the next thing out there that would help the next woman, because it was affecting me. And over time, I got tough skin.
Yeah. Well, I was going to say, and that's good advice, because you get to a point when you're, like you said, there comes a tipping point where you don't just have the people that love you. And so this is really good for a company that's scaling, when you start to see like, oh, my reach has been brought in and expanded. And now people are seeing me that don't necessarily like what I bring to the table, or trust that I'm intelligent about what I'm going to speak about. And so I think that's really interesting to just say, okay, I'm going to hire someone that's their job.
Yeah. So I tasked a police force, basically. And I think the other mistake that people make is, especially if you're running paid traffic, and this works for organic as well, is like, you should have a police force. Like, literally hire a VA that's job is only to moderate your comments and moderate your ads. Because one of the biggest things I see, and that we did very well, is we had a full-time person that moderated everything. So when you're paying for this real estate of your Facebook page, right? You're paying for this real estate of your content, or you're paying for the ads to reach people. And people don't have their ads moderated. So what's the first thing I do when I see an ad for a dress or this jacket or whatever? I go look at the comments to see if it's the real deal. And if you don't moderate the comments, it's everything that's most recent at the top is going to be people being like, oh, it's a scam, or I never got my thing.
Wow. Well, and there's a website I just want to tell people about. I think it's called mention.com. And I remember back in the day hearing about it, because you can literally put your company name in that link, and you can see anytime that your company name has been mentioned online. And so, there's a lot of times there's forums and discussions that you would never even know about are happening. And then you can find that and be able to like chime into those conversations as well, so that you're not just like surprised, like, oh, there's this conversation out in the universe that I had no idea about, but it's public, and maybe I want to be able to chime into that conversation. So, and it's good and bad, right? Like you see some stuff that I was like, oh my gosh, how cool. These people are talking about us over here that I had no idea they loved us, but then also, oh, I had some people over here. I had no idea that they were upset about this. And so, you're able to kind of smooth that territory when you search online and say, hey, where am I?
Yeah. So if someone was like on one of our ads, like I never got my product, we would literally have a full-time team member that's like, hey, can you DM me your order number? I'd love to check on that for you, or we'll reimburse you or send you new product or whatever it is and make it right. Yep. But also the ones that were just there to hate on me for my eyelashes or my lipstick being half smudged on my face or whatever it was that they're getting on me, just removing those comments because they weren't serving my real estate. Why would you let someone, if you had $1 million house, are you going to let someone just walk up and like come poop on your front porch? No, you're going to be like, get out of here. Like, what are you doing? This is my property. And people don't see their content and their pages the same way. Like, it's your real estate. You have so much money, time, energy. Like, for someone to edit this down into the content you're going to create, if you're not moderating it, like, you're literally just letting someone come poop on your front porch. And that's people's entry point to you. Yeah. They're trying to walk in your house and there's poop on your front porch. And they're like, this is weird. Like, do I really want to, like, no, I'm done. I'm out of here. Why would I want to go to Mindy's house? There's like all this poop on her front porch,
Right. I love it. Okay. So, this is kind of a personal question. I know you're coaching cause you sold Ladyboss, but, you are so brilliant. You're coaching a lot of other huge companies now, helping them grow. But Kaelin, I know you got dreams in there.
Oh yeah.
So what's like in your heart stirring up to be like, hey, I mean, I know the babies, we're going to love on the babies, spend more time with the babies and all that. But do you have anything that's been kind of brewing and ideas or anything like that you can share?
Well, I think first of all, really now like being above the business. And what's cool about me and my husband is we have two totally different roles. Like he is a super smart, data driven, like he can scale any company. Like I sit in a room with him every day and I'm like, the guy's so smart, and then I'm really great at like marketing, sales, like attracting the perfect customer, like knowing who they are. That's really my jam. And so it's been really cool for the two of us to like sit with a company and be able to bring both sides to the table. And so now really we find most of the people that we work with are other Christian entrepreneurs that are like kingdom businesses, right? That have like bigger impact than just like, oh, we want to make more money, right? It's like we want to work with people that like, if we help them scale their business, like that's more money back into the kingdom. That's more work that's being done for the kingdom. Yeah. Like that's for me, like I think that is so cool because we did that, right? Like we gave away millions of dollars. And I'm like, I want to help other businesses scale that want to have that same type of impact. And so I really feel like for the first time, it's like I love weight loss and I know it so well. And I love the customer. But ever since I was 4, I remember looking at billboards and being like, I see why they said that. Like, I see why they used that copy. Like, I see how that gets people to buy. And, like, I have a very marketing, like, mind. Like, I look at everything and I'm like, see marketing everywhere. Mm-hmm. And so I really feel like for the first time in life, I'm really operating in my actual gift. Like, what my gift is like helping other people do the same thing or, like, help them understand, like, this is how you make the sale. Like, this is how you tell a story to sell. You don't have to sell, right? I call it story selling, And, like, being able to take everything that I've learned and done, this is the very first time that I've ever been able to talk about these things because I was only talking about weight loss. I was never talking about business. But my real, like, gift is helping people understand their customer, marketing, sales, like all of that. And I really feel like I'm operating in that zone now. And so I just love, like I got to jam 10 minutes yesterday in front of you at the event. I'm like, man, that was like my favorite 10 minutes that have, happened this month when I just get to jam on that and like teach people what I know. I think that's
Like speaking.
yeah, I love speaking. I love it.
And so it's not necessarily that you're like, oh, I'm dreaming of starting another company. Like your next kind of season, you really just see is investing into other companies that are kingdom minded.
Yeah. And then I think one day, I have this whole huge following because I was like attracting people that are just like me. It's like all conservative women. So I think down the road, maybe like this year or next year, launching like a Christian women's community, like what I did with Ladyboss. But in the sale and the transaction, I was able to keep my following, and God was always pressing in. Like I literally knew at the table when we're there with like huge companies, like if I said their name, like they're on the shelves at Walmart, like they've been weight loss companies for 20, 30 years that have been around. Like you see their commercials on TV.
Yeah.
They're trying to buy us, but my whole following was going to go with them. Like they were going to take all the social pages, all that kind of stuff. And like God was just pressing on me, like, you're going to do something bigger with your following. So I was like saying no to those deals because I wouldn't be able to keep the following, because I knew God was telling me like, you're going to do something bigger with it. And so I think that's what it's leading to, is creating, shifting like my personal brand for what I do, and like my passion project would be like starting a community of Christian women that was like Ladyboss, where, they have weekly, prayer calls, like what we do together, and really bring in like the masses of women at a very low ticket that are just like women that I don't go to church. I'm not churched, right? Or I don't even know what a good church looks like, or so many people like it's here or there, or I don't even know like where to start or what to do. But like, I feel like I'm supposed to go down this way, that I can basically take them and make like the women's church. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like bring women together, put them in a pod of 5 or 6 other ladies that become their friends and their support group, like what we have, that's changed our lives.
Absolutely.
And I'm just like, I really feel like the everyday mom, like the everyday woman, the everyday busy lady, like we don't have that type of support group. And I built it in Ladyboss. And so being able to give that to Christian women and say like, here's your support team, like here's your best friends.
And what I hear you saying is it's more like intentional, because I think a lot of people have friends, and they have these girls like, oh, we're gonna have girls' night and all that stuff. Yep. But I'm pretty sure you and I would agree, is like I have way more connection to a girls' night where we get to talk about like vision board, or oh my gosh, what are you going for? What are you doing, and cheering each other on, and then praying and saying like, okay, I'm gonna believe for that with you, or whatever it may be, versus it's just like, hey, let's drink wine because life's hard, and we're gonna try to forget about it until tomorrow.
Yeah, totally.
And so a lot of times I think it's important to look around and say, hey, we've heard it a million times, but you're the result of the 5 people you spend the most time with. And are you spending the most time with people that are just kind of like downers complaining about their life, or are you spending with people going like, hey, I don't like this, but I can change it?
Yep.
And that's like literally my motto whenever I coach people or talk to people. I'm like, if you don't like it, change it.
Yeah.
Change it.
Yeah.
And it's totally possible to do that. And it sounds like you want to build a community that's like, hey, intentionally, let's put women together that also feel this way. And maybe they just couldn't find them. And because let's be real, they're not always in your town. Yeah. I mean, here, I'm in Colorado, you're in Austin, Texas, but we're friends. And and you text me and you encourage me, and I try to, think of you. 4 kids, remember? But like, I seriously was hardcore wanting you on this podcast because you're such an example for women that want to be the best version of themselves. And I'm like, we need more of that. We need to hear more of that. So I just appreciate your friendship, because gosh, I could just get around the idea of like, I'm going to hang out with you. I'm going to drink coffee, laugh, drive fast over, over bumps with my Bronco. But I'm just going to be like, hey, what are you dreaming about? What are you thinking about? Like, how can I push you? What's going to be in 30 days from now? Something that you're going to be like believing God to answer this prayer, you know? Yeah. And a lot of women don't have that.
Right.
And it might not be in your town.
Yeah. So I call it the resistance without. So whenever you're the one that's like in the group of like the hometown homies and everything, and you're like, oh, I want to make this change, even if it's in your health, right? Or it's like, hey, I'm dreaming of this business, or like I'm dreaming of homeschooling my kids, and the people around you, like, they don't necessarily always like change, and they don't like you to change, because it becomes a mirror for them. Like,
and when you decide,
when you decide like, hey, like you've lost, what is it now?
21 pounds.
21 pounds, woo! So you lost 21 pounds, and when that happens, like when you make that decision, you start going down that journey, other people be like, oh, you don't need to lose weight.
Yeah.
Or like, and you're like, it's not really about that. Like, I just want to be healthier. Like,
or people will be like, I'll buy your drink. Like, they just want to.
Or like, hey, you always have nachos with me. We always get dessert. Like, hey, this is, they start ordering your favorite dessert at restaurants when you go out to eat with them, right? It's called the resistance without, because people don't want you to change because it mirrors them, that now like, oh, if she thinks that she needs to change, like she thinks that I need to change too, and it makes them uncomfortable. Right. And so if you don't have a group of people that are okay with change and want to evolve together and want to go in a linear direction of like, if I want to get closer to God, or I want to build a business, or whatever it is, like you are just, you're bringing on all this resistance from people that are now like handicapping you from being able to get to where you want to go. And so like, how do we facilitate a community like that? And that's what we did at Ladyboss, was like, we facilitated a community that women supported each other through the weight loss journey of like, you can do it, even though all your friends are saying this, or ordering your favorite dessert, or telling you need to lose weight, or why would you want to go work out, or you've never worked out before, and they start to resist your change. You bring them together in a community that believes in change and that wants to evolve together, and it does powerful things.
Yeah, and I'm thinking it doesn't even just reflect weight loss. I mean, I just think, Kaelin, there are so many people listening that are thinking, oh, I want to be better with my finances. And then you start to save money and stop blowing it every weekend, and your friends are like, wait, we're not going out?
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Yeah. I mean, it could be finances, it could be health, it could be so many areas. Like, let's just say you're working on relationships and you maybe have to set new boundaries because some people aren't healthy for you. And they're like, whoa, wait, I'm not used to this, you know? And there can be jabs, there can be hard comments, there can be things that come your way. But I just think that the higher calling of being like for us, we both believe in Jesus, and we're like, hey, God has called us to be the best version we can be so that we can love others and we can be the best version of ourselves. And so it's kind of like, okay, those sacrifices and those choices, we want to be around people that celebrate those things and not just say, oh, well, that's crap. Like, why are you doing that? You know, I want to celebrate those wins.
Well, people are afraid for you to change because they're afraid your relationship with them is going to change. Right? If they don't change with you, then you find a new crew that's now working out with you, or that's doing, you know, alcoholless happy hour together, you know? And so when you start changing, they're afraid of how the relationship changes. That's why they try to put you back in the box. And so along the journey, and I've been through many seasons, and every season you're going to have change. All of a sudden, my friends that don't have kids, right? When I had kids, like my life looked different, and they didn't want kids to tag along. And so it was like, oh, you know, you guys can come, it's adult only. And I'm like, well, it's Saturday, I don't have someone to help with the kids, or I don't have a babysitter. Like, I either have to bring my kid or I can't come. And it's like, oh, it's adult only. And so you start to find yourself, like, I'm in a new season now where friends and relationships change. And you have to be okay with that and know, like, here's my friends that I do this with. Here's my friends that I do this with. But, like, who are my friends that are stretching me and growing me? And those are the people that you should be more attracted towards.
Absolutely. I love it. Okay. Well, we have a tradition on the show where we like to have the guest introduce me to their favorite drink. So what's your favorite drink today that I'm going to be trying, Kaelin? Let's
so
bring
we
it
went
out.
to this bomb coffee shop this morning that's like literally in your parking lot. Apparently
I know. It's
famous.
amazing.
But my favorite drink is a cold brew, but I really like it when you can have the lavender in it. And there's only one other time that I've been able to find a coffee shop that puts lavender in the cold brew. And so they had it, and this is like the jam. So this is a cold brew with almond milk and cranberry lavender flavor.
Whoa. Okay, I'm going to try it.
You better mix that up, though. You got, like, you know,
okay, I'll
give it a good mix.
Give it a shot.
Give it a good
mix. Okay, I love it. I have never heard of this drink, so nice. It's very understated, like the lavender. It's just like barely there.
I know, but it sounds weird, right? Like coffee with lavender.
But it's good for you.
Yeah.
Actually, Justin, our other friend, was telling me that lavender, because he did my whole blood work, he's a health coach we had here on the show too, but lavender actually boosts my immunity for me. Yeah. So I'm like, well,
me too.
That's cool.
He makes me drink lavender tea too.
He does? Yeah. Oh my gosh, it's hilarious. I love it. I love it. Well, Kaelin, I got to tell you, I'm so glad that we became friends this year. And I mean, it's so cool to see all that God's doing in your life and what he has done so far. I can't even imagine what the future looks like for you. I'm just like, this is just decade one. Like, what's decade 2 and 3? I mean, I'm just going to be cheering you on, and you inspire me to definitely live a life worth celebrating. So thank you for being on the show.
We were just saying this morning, we were like driving in the Bronco on the way here, and I was like, Mindy, I feel like you're like the person that runs over all the curbs and stuff, you know? And we were saying, like, I'm pretty sure if we lived in the same place, we'd be best friends.
Yes.
Like,
yes.
I'm like, well, we're best friends through text right now. But I'm like, dude, I'm pretty sure we're the same person, and I've just enjoyed this hour with you so much. It's been so much fun.
So glad. Well, let's do a cheers. Let's do a cheers.
Cheers.
Cheers. Okay, guys, thank you so much for watching today. And I would love for you to like, comment, and subscribe if you can, and tell your friends about this show, because we love coming alongside you and mentoring you so that you can learn how to live a life worth celebrating. Thanks for listening. Be sure to subscribe to the show, rate, review, and share with a friend. Also, follow the Something New Show on Instagram and Facebook. If you want a fuller experience, watch the show on YouTube to help you create a life worth celebrating.